Welcome to the CCNA Voice ICOM 8.0 640-461 Certification Exam Training Video Series. This is Module 1, and we're going to be introducing the CCNA Voice certification track along with some of the tips and tricks you'll need to know as you pursue the Cisco CCNA Voice certification. Let me introduce myself. My name is Josh Kittle, and I will be your instructor throughout this series. I'm a unified communications engineer for a Cisco partner dealing with IP telephony and various collaboration applications on a daily basis. So this is pretty much what I eat, sleep, and drink. So voice is fun. I really enjoy doing it. I got my CCNA in 2002, moved up to the CCVP, which I've since renewed to a CCNP Voice roughly 2010. And I've also been a Cisco Academy instructor for the CCNA class, and I am a CCAI. I've been working with the Cisco Unified Communications Solutions since just after the acquisition of Celsius, which was, I want to say, right around 2000. And I got in, pretty much the first call manager release, which was 3.0. I was actually working for a company at the time, and I was doing route switch, I was doing wireless, I was doing VPN and security, those types of things. And all of a sudden, I became the new administrator, whether I wanted to or not, of a Cisco Voice over IP phone system. And I have to admit, at the time, I didn't really know anything about Voice over IP. I didn't really know anything about sending audio across the data network, and I didn't know a whole lot about QoS, and really, I wasn't interested in the slightest. And it's kind of funny how the turn of events has gone. And, a decade and some change later, unified communications is how I pay the bills. So it's a lot of fun. I know that the bug certainly bit me early on, even though I had some, initial bias against the technology. But, I think that as you go through this certification track and as you work with unified communications in your job, hopefully you come to really enjoy it, to the same level that I do. So hang in, and let's go ahead and do this together. The first thing you should do, if you haven't already, is visit the Cisco certification homepage at www.cisco.com/go/certification. Cisco wants to, give you, certain objectives. They want you to meet certain standards as you study and complete your CCNA Voice certification. At a high level, Cisco says that the CCNA Voice validates associate-level knowledge and skills required to administer a voice network. They say that the exam confirms the required skill set for specialized job roles, such as Voice Technologies Administrator, Voice Engineer, and Voice Manager. And they say that the certification validates skills in VoIP technologies, such as IP PBX, IP telephony, handset, call control, and voicemail solutions. Here it is, the famous certification triangle. I know you've seen this before as you've pursued other Cisco certifications, and hopefully this one looks a little smaller than you're used to seeing. That's right, Cisco has announced some changes. Actually, right after I recorded the first version of this slide, Cisco announced some changes to the CCNA Voice certification track, and we wanted to take the opportunity, go back and update the slides to make sure you had the latest and greatest information. So up until recently, and I mean real recently, the process for getting your CCNA Voice certification was that you would take the CCENT ICND1 exam. Current iteration of that, as of this recording, is 640-822. You would then take your ICND2, which would, upon completion, give you the Cisco CCNA certification, or what I'll call the CCNA route switch, which really isn't what it's called, but I want to make sure you know which one I'm talking about. Once you had your CCNA, you would then study for the CCNA Voice. And the most recent version of the test for the CCNA Voice is the ICOM 8.0 exam, test number 640-461. And really, that exam is what this course is surrounding. But lo and behold, Cisco has restructured their certifications once again, and they've removed the requirement of the CCNA route switch. Now, I think this is kind of a blessing and a curse all at the same time. Really, if you ask me, You need a CCNA level background to fully comprehend the technologies that we're going to present to you in this course. So if you haven't completed your CCNA, I would certainly encourage you to go ahead and make the push and do that, and then come back and do the CCNA voice. That said, there's a lot to learn in this course. A lot of stuff is going to be building blocks on what you've already seen, and it's a lot of fun. So CCENT to CCNA voice is now a two-hop thing instead of having to go through 3. But again, we're going to assume that you have a CCNA level of understanding. I don't care if you're certified or not, but we want to make sure you have a solid foundation to build on as we proceed through this test. So again, no longer does the CCNA voice require that you first complete the CCNA route switch. Once you pass the CCENT 640-822 exam, you will be eligible to attempt the ICOM 8.0 exam 640-461, for your CCNA voice certification. 640-461, ICOM 8.0, at a high level, has certain objectives. The objectives of the exam are to test a candidate's knowledge of the architecture, components, functionality, and features of Cisco Unified Communications solutions. The exam also tests the knowledge needed to perform tasks such as system monitoring, moves, adds, changes on Cisco Unified Communications Manager, Unified Communications Manager Express, which is the router-based, iOS-based PBX solution, Cisco Unity Connection, which is the unified messaging or voicemail solution, and Cisco Unified Presence. If you haven't already taken a look at the exam blueprint, I would suggest doing this before you proceed any further. The Cisco exam blueprint is an outline of Cisco's specific subject-level expectations of the topics that you'll be expected to master as part of pursuing your CCNA voice certification. At learningnetwork.cisco.com/docs/doc8279 as of this writing. Cisco wants you, as part of the exam blueprint, to be able to describe the characteristics of a Cisco Unified Communications solution. So they're going to ask you about all of the various components and their functions. So what is Cisco Unified Communications Manager versus Unified Communications Manager Express? How do they function? How are they different? What is Cisco Unity Connection? What is Cisco Unified Presence, etc.? Cisco is going to ask that you be able to describe call signaling and media flows, and we'll talk about call signaling quite a bit through the course of this video series. Cisco would like you to be able to describe the quality implications of a voice network. Explain what are the factors for quality of audio in a voice over IP solution. Cisco wants to make sure that you're able to provision end users and associated devices. So they're going to ask that you can describe the user creation options for Cisco Unified Communications Manager and Unified Communications Manager Express. They're going to expect that you're able to create or modify user accounts for Call Manager, or if you've heard me say that, you haven't been around a while. Call Manager is the old name for Unified Communications Manager. So anybody that's been doing it a while has been calling it Call Manager forever and probably will call it Call Manager forever. So forgive me when that term slips out. Cisco expects that you're able to create or modify user accounts on Unified Communications Manager Express, or what you'll hear me call CME, using the GUI. They'll expect that you're able to create or modify endpoints, so IP phones, if you will, on Unified Communications Manager and Unified Communications Manager Express. They're going to ask that you're able to describe how calling privileges function and how calling privileges impact the system features and capabilities. Cisco is going to expect that you're able to create and modify directory numbers, basic programming of phones type of tasks here. They want you to be able to enable user features and related calling privileges for things like extension mobility. They want you to be able to describe call coverage capabilities, intercom, native presence, and Cisco's unified mobility remote destination configuration. They want you to be able to enable end users for Cisco Unified Presence. And Presence is one of those things that's kind of been an up-and-coming, new feature. This is now part of your standard phone system experience as of late. So you're going to hear a lot more about Presence as we go through this. And they want you to verify that user features are operational. Cisco wants to see that you're able to configure both voice messaging and presence. So you need to be able to describe user creation options for voice messaging. You need to be able to create and modify user accounts within Cisco Unity Connection. You need to be able to describe Cisco Unified Presence and configure Cisco Unified Presence. And Cisco wants to make sure that you're able to maintain the Cisco Unified Communications solution. So they want to make sure you can generate call detail reports and CMR reports. They want you to be able to generate usage and capacity reports. They want to make sure you know how to use the real-time monitor tool to monitor system activities. They want to make sure you can monitor voicemail usage and mailbox size, and remove unassigned directory numbers when a phone gets deleted from the system, and other types of housekeeping related activities. And finally, they want you to be able to perform a manual system backup. Obviously, backups are important. So that covers the maintain side of the house. And finally, Cisco wants to make sure that you're prepared to support the end users that you're servicing as part of this unified communications solution, and including verifying PSTN connectivity, so troubleshooting things like ISDN PRI and FXO lines, which is a foreign exchange office line. More to come on that. They want you to understand basic troubleshooting techniques. How do you define a fault domain? And how do you break a problem into manageable sections so that you can isolate and troubleshoot root cause of a problem? They want to make sure you can troubleshoot endpoint issues. How do I solve a phone problem that is being reported by my end users? They want to make sure you can identify voicemail issues and resolve issues related to user mailboxes. They want you to be able to describe the causes and the symptoms, and ultimately, what can I do about it? What are the resolutions, or at least the courses of action, for call quality issues? They want to make sure you know how to reset single devices so that you can perform device management. And they want you to describe how to use phone applications. Strategies for success. If you've gotten this far in the Cisco certification realm, you've taken a test or two, and you understand that there's a lot of information being covered at a fairly broad level of conversation in varying depths. So here are some tips and tricks to help you achieve your Cisco CCNA Voice certification. First and foremost, you are the master of your own destiny. You can do this if you set your mind to it. I know that, from going through various certifications in the past on my own, there are some challenges in the studying and learning process. You're always going to find that there's a hole in your knowledge and need to go back, revisit the material, and fill in those gaps. And I think that that's a normal and acceptable part of the learning process. So set yourself up to succeed. Let's create some strategies that'll help get you there. And remember, you can do this. Here's how we're going to help you prepare for the CCNA Voice certification exam. We're going to have video content and lecture. I know you're looking at slideshow presentations right now, and while there will be some slide content, there's going to be a lot of interactive material within this course. You're going to see me doing video labs where you follow along and watch and observe what I'm doing and how things react. You're going to be given independent labs that you can do on your own. You can duplicate what I've done, or modify the lab slightly, or a whole bunch, depending what you want to do, and change it up a bit, and verify that you've truly mastered the concepts of the technology. And I come up and I say, are you seeing a pattern here? Practice, practice, practice. Getting hands-on is very, very important for studying for the CCNA Voice certification exam. This is not a theory exam. Theory is part of it, but you truly need to understand how things work and have been there, done that to be successful. You'll go through a final review period and go through some exam simulations. There's a lot of companies out there selling those types of products. Most of them are pretty good. I would encourage you to use more than one. This is not like I said before, this is not a trivial test. Use every avenue to prepare for this test. So, my personal test-taking methodology and how I prepare for a certification exam is I go for video content, and I watch a training program such as this to give me the primer. And then I'll go through books, not only just books, official, Cisco Press kind of books, but I'll go through user's guides, and I'll go through documentation that's downloadable. I'll go through third-party books and just, kind of get my arms around as much content-related information as I can. I'll then go to the web and review some of the, the chatter, the people talking about, hey, what's on the exam right now? What kind of topics are you seeing? Not because I expect you to be able to memorize anything. Obviously brain dumps don't work in this kind of environment, and I'm not an advocate of them. But any opportunity you can use to know more, to understand the areas of focus, and understand the areas that you need to study and tool up on, use that information to your advantage. You're the master of your own destiny here. The more you know, the more prepared you're going to be. And finally, go take the exam. I personally fail lots of tests. So if you fail a test now and again, don't sweat it. I just am not wired to be a test taker. I find that for me to pass a test takes a completely different approach than for me to learn a technology or to learn how to do something and master a skill. So if you're not a test taker, don't sweat it. Use those attempts as opportunities to review. Use those attempts as opportunities to focus on, identify what those areas are that you have weaknesses in and focus on them, and use that to pinpoint your study. And finally, you will pass this exam. Practice, study, focus, and you'll be fine. My recommendation and my statement, and your mileage may vary, and you'll likely find other instructors with a different mindset on this. I believe that you do need access to real equipment. Now, whether that is exactly what I'm using in my lab, whether it's a variation of my lab, and we'll have a video here coming up that shows you an example lab topology that we'll reference throughout this course for some of the exercises we're doing. Maybe that's equipment at work in a lab. Maybe that's equipment at work in production, but don't tell them I said that. And maybe it's rack rental, or maybe you decide to build yourself a lab at home. This is, one of those things that there's just really no substitute for hands-on experience and, practicing. Rack rental can suffice. Don't take me as saying you have to go spend $5,000 on a rack full of gear. That's not the case at all. But you do need access and the ability to manipulate real gear. So whether you do that through hands-on methods where it's, you can reach out and touch it, or whether you rent somebody's equipment, either way, get your hands on real gear. It's really going to make a tremendous difference in preparing for this exam. With that, I welcome you to the CCNA Voice Video Certification Exam Series. I look forward to giving you demonstrations and exercises and probably put you to sleep with some boring stories of some of the things that I've run into in the past, and that's okay because after all, experience and sharing stories, is part of the learning process, and learning from others who have gone before you, is a valuable part of the learning process. So stay tuned. I hope to see you in the next video, and good studying. I'll talk to you guys soon.